Welcome to the Startup Physicians Podcast, where we explore how doctors lead healthcare innovation. Please like and follow our show to join our community of physicians contributing to meaningful change. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Startup Physicians Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Alison Curfman, and I am joined today by Dr. Marissa Caudill. Hi, Marissa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Alison. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So we connected through another physician community. I think we might have met at a conference, and this is going to go to show one of our points at the end of this, which is find some great physician communities, find some groups of entrepreneurs and people that will encourage you and inspire you along the way. But I was so excited to make the connection and hear about Marissa's story and what she's building and why she's building it. Marissa, I'd love if you could start by sharing with us a little bit about your career journey and your clinical background and how you became a founder.
Sure. So it's so funny, when you reflect, you kind of wonder, how did I end up here? Because it's so not linear. It's not where I expected to be. If you had asked me 10 years ago, would I be the founder of a new tech company for physicians? I would have said, no, definitely not. But here I am. So my training is as a child psychiatrist. I went to the University of Connecticut, came out to Los Angeles in 2007 for residency and fellowship, met my husband, and didn't plan to stay here, but here we are almost 20 years later, haven't left LA. And after training, I started private practice. I kept a part-time W-2 job because I was worried I wouldn't fill my private practice. And I wanted to have health insurance, even though I had it through my husband. I don't know. I was just anxious starting out, right? Like so many of us are. How am I going to pay the bills? I had a new baby.
There's a lot of...
I wanted to be secure.
A lot of questions when you're starting a business. Sometimes that perception of risks prevents people from ever doing something.
Right.
What you're describing right now is actually sort of a way to ease into it. There are ways to start a business that don't involve taking a massive risk.
Yes.
It's okay if you're
exactly
holding on a little bit to a W-2 job or something else, or maybe have a spouse who I joke with my husband that he's got a W-2 job and so he gets paid on the regular and he has health insurance. I'm like, wait, that gets me to the opportunity to do all sorts of these other crazy things.
It's exactly our dynamic as well. So we both have husbands named David who have the steadiness in the DISC assessment,
Yes.
The DISC assessment,
Hi,
right?
David.
They got the W. Yes, thank you, David. You're keeping the boats afloat. So starting out, exactly, it felt really risky. And generally I am not, or I wasn't until then, a risk-taking person. My family of origin is one that they didn't have a lot of money. I was the first person in the family to go to college. I'm definitely the first doctor in the family. And going back to live in my parents' basement was never going to be an option. So I felt I need to succeed at adulting. So taking that job that was going to give me a floor, right, was making me feel more secure as I started to open a private practice, which felt risky. It really wasn't. Here in Los Angeles, especially, there's plenty of people who can pay. There's plenty of demand for child psychiatrists. What ended up happening was my private practice filled very quickly. So within 6 months, I was working more than I wanted to be working because I was doing 20 hours a week in this community clinic, 20 hours a week in my private practice. And within a year and a half, ultimately, I had to leave the community clinic. Even though I really liked it, it just made no financial sense because I was making so much more in my private practice and I enjoyed it more. So I did private practice for about 5-6 years. And then during that time, I welcomed a second child. And through that, I realized there was this imbalance in private practice at the time because I wasn't 40 hours a week. So I didn't hire help and I didn't do or hadn't done yet a lot of coaching about having kind of a CEO mindset. I still had the mindset that I think is common to a lot of us as physicians, which is I can do it, therefore I should do it. So I was handling every aspect of my business. And, as a psychiatrist, you really just need a room and hang your shingle. You don't need a lot of equipment. It's not complicated in the way that other medical specialty practices can be. But I was doing all the billing, all of the scheduling, all of the rescheduling, all of the collections, all of the super bills, all of the prior authorization.
A really good use of your time as a highly trained subspecialist that has a medical degree, right?
It was total waste of my time. I wish I could go back and coach my younger self and help her see that was incorrect. Instead, I felt this isn't working. I'm burning out in my own business, right? My own practice. So wouldn't it be better if I just went to work for someone else and took a 9 to 5 where they handle all of that? And that's what I did. So when my daughter was like 1, I took a job for Kaiser Permanente in 2018 and I stayed there until 2022. That was its own different experience. It was almost like another fellowship because when I left after 4 years and 4 months, there were over 1,800 patients that I had seen for intakes who were assigned to me as their psychiatrist. And that's a lot of intakes. When you are a psychiatrist, you're hearing people's, biggest traumas, all their stories, all of that. It was a lot to process, but it also was great exposure for me to start seeing the patterns. I was working with both adults and with kids. And I think it was really a wonderful experience. I don't regret it at all. But what I realized working there was I didn't feel like I was really making the most positive impact that I could in these people's lives for their general mental health wellness trajectory because I was very much being asked to just put a label on this, give it the pill that goes with that label, and schedule follow up in 1 to 3 months. And don't do anything else because they have a therapist that's doing the therapy work and you're just supposed to stay in your lane as the psychiatrist. And the patterns that I recognized were really with the kids that often for the teenagers coming to see me who were really depressed or so anxious they couldn't go to school or had developed an eating disorder. There was usually a parent-child dyad dynamic that had started 5 to 10 years before and no one had helped them with that then had resulted in the child presenting with a serious mental health problem. And so after a little break, because I needed to decompress after my years at Kaiser, I started to think how do I want to practice when I come back to this? Because I love psychiatry. I love what I do. But I realized I really wanted to work with parents. So I branded myself in 2023 as the parent doctor. And this was right after the pandemic when lots of courses were coming out. And I had taken courses during the pandemic when we were all stuck at home. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a course for parents. And I thought I can record this and sell it and I'll make so much money. So that was where I started, like you were just talking about with me, accumulating technology, right? So I hadn't been on social media. I got on Instagram and Facebook as the parent doctor and on YouTube. I got a Kajabi account. I built my course there. I had a software called ManyChat to help me connect the leads coming in from Instagram and Facebook to Kajabi funnels. Then I had Google Workspace and Google Forms and my website built somewhere else. Paid someone to do that. The leads from the website were going to a Google form, and then I would have to manually import them into Kajabi. It was all these things that just ultimately weren't talking to each other. Then I had Calendly, which again was like scheduling over here, but then I didn't have them on my list in Kajabi. So it was a lot of pieces that were driving me crazy. And it was about a year and a half into that, actually during a podcast recording where someone shared with me that they were using this software that kind of combined everything. So I started to use it. And after using it for about a year and a half, I had the experience of this is so much better. I wish I had known this 3 years ago. What if I really learned how to use this well and could break it down into a lesson plan that people could follow? And wouldn't that make other physicians' lives better? Because I knew more and more doctors who were doing what I did, which was leave their W-2 to start something that felt more aligned, more directed based on their mission and their purpose and their goals with patient care and promoting health and wellness. And so that is how SuperDoc Tech was founded. That's our company. I co-founded that with my co-founder, Sodi. She's an obesity medicine specialist in Scottsdale. We literally incorporated less than a year ago. So I just got the paperwork in the mail from our lawyer that we have to refile February 8th. So we're still very new, but it's been so much fun and really an amazing experience.
So I hear a couple things when you share your journey. First off, I hear multiple career transitions, which is
Yes.
so normal. And I think we need to normalize that as doctors. Because I remember when I got my first job as an attending, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do until for the rest of my life. I'm so excited. And even when I was in training, I spent 6 years at the same academic institution. And I remember thinking oh my God, it would be crazy to leave the institution. It's just
I felt the same way.
Oh my gosh, leave academics? Wow, that is for shame, There are so many places you can thrive. So many places, whether it's going to a different employer or starting something on your own or taking a totally new path. I think that's one of the things I think we should normalize as doctors is that career transitions happen. Whether it's because you burned out or you got a different opportunity, or if you really had to sit down with yourself and you're this is not how I want to be spending my one life that I have.
Mhm.
or if you got laid off, or if you're like me, your program got shut down because of budget reasons, or like there's all these things and we catastrophize it or we make it
Yeah.
seem like something's wrong with me.
Mhm.
You just described like 4 or 5 career transitions that happened for different reasons, and you started and ended a private practice, and then you started a company, and these things are
Yeah.
normal, and it's just the start of a new set of opportunities, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it very much is normal. I didn't even include in there my background. I'm an MD PhD. So you were talking about leaving academia. I thought I was going to be like a research scientist and have
Yeah.
a career at UA. So you're right. There is naturally, and I left that out, right? The emotional part of there was some disappointment when that didn't work out, right? And so taking the job in community mental health and starting my own private practice felt like option B, not necessarily a lesser option or something I didn't want because I really do love clinical work, but it did feel a little bit like, have I failed at what I really set out to do, to be this like researcher? But
Isn't
truly,
it
that
crazy
wasn't.
how much we think we've failed? Like,
Yeah.
I like we have to beat that out of our heads to be like, "Oh, I failed at this. I failed at this. I failed at this today." And like this didn't work the very first time I tried it. So I must be a failure at this.
I've definitely matured so much. I mean, I'm almost 50 now. So, like, I think the way I see things now is just kind of the flow of the universe and of life. I've become way more woo about the whole thing.
Yes.
But my 20 something year old self really felt like it was, a survival thing. I was either going to make it or I wasn't. And if I didn't make it as an MD, PhD research scientist, then I don't know, somehow I was letting the universe down. But I don't think that's true at all. I think there's so many ways that we can have a positive impact. And as intelligent, hardworking, high value people, which physicians, that's just what we are, right? Like we bring so much value to whatever we do, then why pigeonhole ourselves into one aspect or another? It's not true that we can only be clinicians and we can't be business people or we couldn't be investors or we couldn't be entrepreneurs. Like it's just, you can be so many things. There's no limit to what you can decide to do. And life is so long. Like honestly, when you said, I'm going to do this forever, that was something I felt at Kaiser because I thought the same. I'll take this job. I'll do it until I get the pension. That's just what I'll do. It's a very wonderful, memorable, rewarding career. But then when I got in it, I was like, I don't want to do this for like 25 years. It's kind of boring at some point too. I think I am someone who likes novelty and lifelong learning. And even though I was seeing a high volume of patients, even though there was a lot of variety, it became kind of formulaic and routine, right? It wasn't that exciting. It wasn't that I was learning that much. So now that I'm running this new business, I'm learning so much more and I'm so much more engaged with what I'm doing, even though it's also uncomfortable to be back to ground zero and feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. It feels like that year of internship where you're just like, what's going on?
And
But you
that's a
get to love
theme.
that.
That's a theme that I feel like I keep telling people that the combination that they need to start something new is confidence in the skills that you have and willingness to learn new ones and be humble and be like, yep, I don't know that. Like, I got to start all over. Like, willing to feel like an intern, willing to feel like I'm kind of an idiot because I have absolutely no idea. It's not even, I don't even have like a toddler level of understanding of this thing, because you haven't done it before. And I think that the other thing is that we talked about leaving academics. I gained a handful of skills that when I left academics, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Like I spent so long developing research skills and, all these other publishing and things like that. But then as it turned out, like I now still use some of those. Like I am a fractional CMO for a company that like my role is to help them with their research study design. Like that is a piece that I, picked up in my past as a
Hmm.
skill and then now I'm applying it in a different way. Same with some of the things that you're talking about. Like, it's okay when you transition to be like, oh, what did I take from that? What new skills
Yeah,
do I have? And then
definitely.
transition into something new. So now you're a tech founder and it's like, wow, there's all this stuff that I don't know. Well, guess what? You're going to build new skills.
I think that's 100% true.
So what
And it's
sort of
actually, I think it's
skills?
more fun to be doing new things all the time. But that's kind of,
It's true.
my sister calls me the fly. We both have this kind of, we just flit around from thing to thing. It's a little bit like, I don't know, just things are exciting when they're new. But it's not that I am constantly, well, I guess maybe you could look at it that I'm constantly abandoning things, but I don't think I am. I agree with you that I think that things kind of build on each other. Um,
Yeah.
and every experience leads to the next. Every door that opens does close a past one, but brings you to a new chamber of your life.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that stood out to me when we first met is that both of us had gone on a pathway of like trying something new on our own and developing it and, having some success with it. And then really wanting to bring that to other physicians because we
Hmm.
see how much impact we as individual physicians can have. And sometimes we need guidance on that. Sometimes we need someone to show us a pathway or a way to do it or give us tools or skills. And I think you and I both have that in common that we're doing what we're doing because we very deeply want to help other physicians. And I think it makes it a great way to form relationships and to get to know other doctors who have really high aspirations, who want to do something more than just the status quo.
And that's absolutely the best part is being able to share this with other people and to realize, because again, as I said, like I found this software, but it was really hard to figure it out. Like I had to invest a ton of time. And the more I learned, the more I was like, oh man, this is amazing. Why doesn't anyone know about this? But what's amazing about SuperDoc Tech and what we're able to do is that we're kind of providing that translation piece to help people see how they can use this super powerful tool in a customized way and then have them get really excited as they start being like, look what I did, look what happened, like look at these new leads, look at these new patients who got booked, look at my new website, my new funnel, my new course, whatever it is. It feels so good to know that they are able to do this in a community now. Whereas when I was doing it, it was all alone, which is when you're doing a new thing, it will naturally be uncomfortable. You will naturally be focused on all of the times you get it wrong. Because again, part of being wonderful, educated, hardworking physicians is that we're a little bit weak in our ability to tolerate not getting things right the first time, right? Like generally we were
True.
top of the class, the A students, like the kids who got it quickly. And so when you, especially in midlife, like start something new like technology, it can be really triggering for your feelings of insecurity to be like, I can't do this, and to just get frustrated. So to be able to give our community of doctors that support and the example of, yes, you can do this, see what this person did, we can help you, we can hold your hand. That's awesome. Like it feels so good to be able to help people through that hard period of learning something new. I'm a psychiatrist, so I've read a lot of psychology and things. There's this graph called the emotional cycle of change. Have you ever seen that before?
No,
It
tell me
was
about it.
produced by these two psychologists. I'm forgetting their names, blanking on it right now, but in the 1970s. And it basically is like, when you start something new and you embark on something new, you have uninformed optimism. You're excited, right? Like, I'm going to start a private practice. Yay. And then very quickly, usually, once you start embarking on that, you start realizing all the things you didn't know and all the things you're going to have to figure out and all the pieces that have to work together. And so you quickly go from uninformed optimism to informed pessimism. And so they have this graph where then they show you declining in your level of energy and your enthusiasm. And they call that the valley of despair. And what most people end up doing is they spend some time there and then
They quit.
they quit and then they start a new thing, right? Like the fly, right? They go to like, I'm going to be excited about this new thing and keep going. So what we're really focused on at SuperDoc Tech is helping people predict, yes, you're about to enter the valley of despair. Like, know that you're not doing anything wrong when it starts to feel crappy and hard. That's what it's supposed to feel like. That is you progressing, and you got to keep going to get to the other side, which is informed optimism, and then ultimately like mastery and success on the other side. And you're just going to keep doing that, right? That's what a business is. When you start a new business, as you grow, there's always going to be a new phase where you're doing something you haven't done before and you have to figure out how to put these pieces together. And there's a valley of despair. But with each iteration through that cycle, when you complete it, it gets easier, less emotional, you go through it faster. So it's been wonderful to be present in that journey with our members, to know that our working together is really going to help them get through it. And it absolutely is. And it's been so much fun to see people succeed and to come back and celebrate their wins. That's the best part.
That's great. I love that analogy, and I see it in, like, the people that I work with too that are, like,
Hmm.
they get really excited about that option of working with startups, and then they realize how much they have to learn or how much they don't know, or they start to feel really insecure about
Right.
feeling like an intern all over again. And it's like, that's the part that if you could get through that and you get the right support around you, get the right peers, get the right people, communities, tools, whatever you need, but even if it's like listening to podcasts and having an accountability partner or something like that, if you can get through that, then you can get to this higher level of moving on to the next problem, which will be a better quality problem. We talked about the
Exactly.
quality of our problems, and you always want to be facing new problems. And so I love that example. And for people that might be like a little bit confused about exactly what your company does right now, so I'll see if I can summarize it. You tell me if I get it right. But Go High
Sure.
Level is a platform that is like an all in one. It's in my mind a little overwhelming. I don't know how to use it. I've done a lot of research on it. It looks like it's a really good backbone for any business, but I have looked at it and been like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to start. I, similar to you, when I started my most recent business, I, put out a website and then I started some socials and I started some other stuff and I started a course and I just kept layering on like, oh, what do I need to do this? Oh, I got to buy another tool. I got to buy another tool. And I ended up with this unmanageable like tech stack that I couldn't even manage myself. I didn't know how to do anything in my business and it was very disorganized. And then I had to like curate and simplify. So you have found this platform that works really well for you, but you have become an agency for the platform, which curates it and actually creates solutions that are specific to doctors. So there are certain things like
Yes.
if you are, running your own practice or your own DPC or your own, even if you're doing like personal brand stuff, there are specific things that need to happen if you're a doctor. There needs to be certain layers that like, does this part need to be HIPAA compliant, things like that. And you guys have created a platform to license a software that's specific to doctors that comes with the training, support, community, all of the things you need to use this kind of all encompassing tool, but not have to putter around and figure it out yourself.
Exactly. I think you described that very well. And you're right. It's based on the Go High Level platform, which is a very complex, it's kind of like a Lego. Have you ever seen, I don't know if you have kids and they went through the phase of like Legos, you
We have
probably ended up at
so
some
many
point,
Legos at our house.
you
So many
probably ended up at
Legos.
some point with like a huge bin of just like random Legos, right? Okay. That is essentially Go High Level. Okay. And so it can build anything, but if you just go directly to Go High Level, you will be pretty lost. So really, it's not meant for individual users. It's meant for agency users. And that's what we are. We're an agency within Go High Level. We've added features like task management software that's embedded in our software, kind of like ClickUp or Asana or one of those tools. It's all in one place. What we've also done is given you templates for all the things you need, like a website that's 80% done for you. And you just come in and add your brand colors, your copy, your logo. And so instead of just subscribing to Squarespace and sitting down and saying like, okay, where do I start to build this website, or paying someone thousands of dollars to build you a website that isn't really what you were going for, you can customize it and be as involved as you want to be in making it look exactly like you want. But the website itself, I think what we don't realize when we think and we're starting a business and say to ourselves, I know I need a website. We don't understand that like the website itself is essentially just a business card. Unless it's functional, unless it's connected on the back end to your calendar, to a page, to lead magnets, to things that collect data about the visitors who are coming and gives them something of value in return. And so for that kind of automation to happen, if you don't want to be doing it manually, and you shouldn't be doing it manually, then you need a CRM tool, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. And that essentially is a way to say when someone comes into my business through social media or through a web chat interaction or through a text message or through an email to me, like make the following things happen automatically so that then everybody gets something of value. And our system is pretty amazing. Like you can set it up with AI chatbots that will interact with people and ask them, how can your business help them? And then direct them to book a call with your calendar. You can do so many wonderful things with it. So it really is sky's the limit in terms of what can be built with this big bucket of
And you can use it
Legos.
in a medical practice,
And
which
you can use
is
it in a
really
medical practice because it's 100% HIPAA compliant. So everything in there is HIPAA compliant. We were talking about the other tools we'd use like Kajabi, Blendly, those kinds of things. A, they're generally not HIPAA compliant, and B, they're separate and they don't really talk to each other without using a third tool like Zapier. And anytime you have a tool, most of them are effective and up most of the time, right? Like 98% of the time or more. But when you multiply them and you have 3 tools that have to work together and each one is up 98% of the time, you actually lose a lot of leads in that process when you're really busy. So have it all in one place makes it much more efficient. And the beauty of this software really is that your whole team can be logging in and using it. So if you have someone doing your social media, they can log in and upload those things and schedule them. So it does like your email management, your website, your funnels, your social media scheduling, unlimited courses, and team coordination and communication. It's really a wonderful thing. Plus AI receptionist and AI chatbot tools and things. So it's very full featured. But you're right that to go high level and try to figure out all of those tools on your own, which is what I did initially for the first year and a half, is overwhelming. It's a slog. And so you will spend many more months, if not years, in that valley of despair than you will if you go with someone. And that's really the key, right? Like when you're starting something new, partner with someone who can be an inspiration, an accountability buddy, but best if they know how to do what you're trying to do, if they can be a few steps ahead of you and hold your hand in that process. And that's really what we do at SuperDoc.
I think that's great. And I think that for people who, I've had a lot of people come to me and be like, oh, I've thought about doing like a business on my own. And the actual product or the service that they're thinking of, like they would be very good at very simply putting it together. It's
Mhm.
more like all the back end, the marketing and the branding and all the things that go into, God, so much communication is
Yes.
required, external communication to find clients and get leads and get people to want to come to your practice or to like if you, what a great idea for you as a child psychiatrist to offer a service for parents. Like that's amazing. So many parents would pay for that. They're not going to pay for it if they don't know about you.
Yep.
So creating the systems and processes to take your idea of how you could use your clinical knowledge in a new way or in a new creative outlet, I think it's a very cool setup that you've created. And you're still practicing. Marissa is a very trustworthy
Yes.
doctor. She's doing this because she wants other doctors to have this, what I call the one to many impact of being able to really scale and reach a lot of people. So I think it's such a great platform and mission that you've started. For people who are interested, you can find Marissa on LinkedIn. We'll put her info in the show notes. The website is superdoctech.com. And I think she also has a special offer for anyone who wants to sign up.
Yeah. So for everybody listening to Alison's podcast, you know how amazing she is. And we've partnered. If you go to superdoctech.com/startup physicians, you can book a call with me there. And that way we will know that you were sent by Alison and you listened to this podcast. And when you sign up with us, enter code podcast50 to get your first 3 months 50% off. That's a huge value. And what we promise is that within 6 months, you will have more than doubled your investment with us. And it's amazing things like, you have an AI receptionist who's booking meet and greets while you're on a cruise. That happened recently for Dr. Julie, one of our clients. We had another DPC physician who joined us in August. Her practice just officially opened its doors in January. It was delayed because the build out of her office got delayed. That happens. But because of the systems she built at SuperDoc Tech and her constant outreach, like you were talking about, which was automated, she started her practice with over 20 people already paying her. So it really helped her go from that fear, right, of starting your own business and not knowing if anyone is going to show up to knowing that she was going to be profitable on day one, which really reduced her anxiety about paying rent and her staff and all of that. So it's a very powerful thing to invest your time in. And we have both done with you services where we give you all the templates that I talked about. And we have 5 hours a week of live coaching calls. We're available to you with our support. And then we also offer done for you services, where we build it all for you. You just tell us what you want and we make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey and the mission of your new venture. And for those of you listening, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you can feel better if you're in the pit of despair. Keep going. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Startup Physicians Podcast. This community was built for doctors who want to contribute to the future of healthcare. We offer support for physicians who are ready to make the next step towards building the career they've dreamed of. Visit startupphysicians.com to learn more. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with another friend who needs to hear it. Let's change the future of healthcare together.